Hi there. Thank you for joining this Magic the Gathering Arena Beginner's Guide in 2025. If you want to jump between certain sections of the video, just check out the timestamps below. We've sorted everything out for you, and if for nothing else, please enjoy, and I will see you soon. Hello. Welcome to the show. Early morning stream at a very nice Sunday. Hello everybody, my name is Peter, also known as Knight of Yore, and I was thinking of playing a little bit of Magic the Gathering today. It's a little bit of sunny outside, so the perfect time of day and the perfect weather to hide in your little cave. And this will be a little guide to how to start Magic the Gathering in 2025. So, yeah, strap on. It's gonna be a doozy. I've made extra new account because I have been an avid Magic player for over 20 years by now. So there is a little bit of knowledge, but nonetheless, it's always very fun to see how a new account unfolds, and especially how free to play Magic the Gathering can be in 2025. I've started with 11 years old at around, I think, the start of my middle school, and was immediately appalled after 2 or 3 tournaments because it's such a complex game. But the older you get, I definitely can say the more you appreciate it, because it's not even one of the oldest trading card games. It's also one of my personal favorites because of the flavor. In the last few months and years, it got a little bit more complicated with the relationship to Wizards of the Coast, to Magic the Gathering, because the interconnective collaborations with other IPs sometimes divide the fan base very, very much. I personally like it because it's always very interesting to see how gaming can unfold and how you can develop as a business. So it's very, very nice to see that Magic still evolves and will be evolving with each year to come. Some of the monetization is very horrible. Most of the creative liberties are very, very nice. So the artwork is just spot on in 99% of the cases, which is awesome. The gameplay is also very interesting because it gets complexer by the day. Each new set introduces some core mechanics, some special new additions, and also jumbles up the formats a little bit. So let's see how free-to-play Magic can be in 2025 and have a little bit of fun. Enjoy. So, what we can see here. The first interface is kind of like an intro, I would say. You get these CPU-controlled enemies, which basically pull you through the tutorial. I personally had the first alpha and beta version of Magic the Gathering Arena, so I know a little bit more of the evolution of it. What I find a little bit appalling here is the fact that when you're a veteran and they ask you when you log in, how much did you play, they still send you through these damn tutorials. That's not so fun, but I think a beginner should definitely try them out because it teaches you the basic of how to get into the groove. So what shall we do? I think we will be getting the white deck and just play around like the tutorial wants us to do. This is Sparky. He's kind of an annoying little helper. You can, for those of you who are a little bit older, you can think of him as a little bit of Clippy in the older Microsoft Office and Word versions. Nonetheless, he's a very good punching bag. So if you want to try out new decks, definitely try out to fight against Sparky. His decks kind of suck, but they are good enough to have a little bit of a fun time. Then graphics option is good, gameplay is okay. What I definitely would recommend at the beginning, if you're a newbie, all the auto-triggered abilities should be off. You should get the feeling of how to stack properly your effects. And auto-choose replacement effects also could be a very nice lesson to learn how very interconnective abilities work in tandem with the UI. What they added a few months ago was keyword reminders, which is very nice because often there are abilities that prevent you from blocking or attacking like you would want to. And sometimes you make strategic moves that don't work or don't work like you want them to be. So it's very nice that they give you at least a little bit of a visual reminder. So let's have a little look. First things first, we have to play lands. Magic has a so-called mana system. So when you want to cast one of your spells, permanent spells like this one, this is a creature, you have to tap mana first, and then you can cast it for its cost, which is in the right corner upstairs there. Let's see if we can get a little bit of audio. Nice, nice. So normally it's very good to keep at least one card in hand, so that your opponent does not know if you have any responses left. In the tutorial it does not really matter, so we just play everything out. Sometimes it could be also very favorable to play your lands, because if you want to cast spells with higher mana costs, then it's definitely worth it to curve out and to give yourself the opportunity to play your spells on curve, so that you don't get too much behind with your timing. Now it gets very interesting.
Now show the cards to inspect their details.
The opponent played another creature who is also power and toughness of 2. So if you attack with one of your creatures, you see in the right corner downstairs, 2/2. A 2/2 attacks with 2 power. So if the creature that blocks has also 2 power, they will destroy themselves, because the toughness and the power clash with another and reduce themselves to 0. Let's have a look how that works.
Keep pressing the attack.
You see, the opponent has a blocking phase, so they can decide which creature trades their damage with the other creature. Power versus toughness. 2 minus 2 goes to 0, and it's done. So both creatures trade and go to the graveyard, which is your discard pile, where all your cards go when you play them or when they die on the battlefield.
That's a big problem.
Yeah, now we've got a big one. We will keep this land in hand, just because. And we will
destroy your creatures if you attack now.
Not attack now. So we will stay back on defense.
You've shown spirit,
the tempo is on our opponent's side. He has more momentum than us and could attack with a big creature. This is a so-called sorcery. In Magic the Gathering, there's a so-called system that's called timing. Sorcery speed says that you can only play spells and cards during your turn. Creatures, for example, if they don't have special abilities, are only playable during your turn. Sorceries, for example, are also only playable during your turn. We will jump block with one of our creatures, because we can't trade, and a 2-for-1 trade would not be good. So we just sack our smallest and weakest creature.
Take down that beast while it's still recovering,
so that they can get the attack back in. Now we play Take Vengeance, also a sorcery, and destroy the spell. a so-called tapped creature always gets tapped when it attacks, or it can also be tapped for an effect.
You're not
As you can see, when you attack with a creature, you turn it to the right, it gets this slight tilt, and it's unavailable for blocking after that. There's also the so-called untap phase, as you can see.
Cast the spell.
The lands and
Clear
the
a path
creature
to finish
turn
her.
back into a straight position so that you can use them again. Now we're playing Blinding Radiance, which prevents our opponent from blocking, and we will win the game. As you can see, trapped creatures tap when they attack, and they can't block when they attack.
Well fought, outsider.
The goal of the game is to reduce your opponent's life points to 0. There are also alternative winning conditions, but we will talk about them when we see the cards.
Ooh, shiny.
Yes, very nice.
You've unlocked a new card.
Nice.
Yeah, good work back there. But if you're going to battle another planeswalker, you've got to be prepared for anything.
So, let's continue. Let's play again.
Surprise attack!
So fun. It's been a while since I've played the tutorial. But I think they made it really
First blood.
easy to understand.
Oh,
I know when I
Don't
have
worry.
learned, when I
These
started
things are
playing, I learned it with the paper cards. That was very hard. Because so many different effects, they confuse you. They
Maybe
confuse
worry
you very
just
hard.
a little bit.
Now we've got one of the main keywords of the game,
second blood.
which is called haste. When you play a creature spell,
You need to mount a defense.
you normally can't attack right away with the creature. A creature with haste, instead, can attack always on the first turn it is played. See how there's this small cooling effect? That indicates on Arena that the creature has summoning sickness. It can't move right away. Think of it like moving through a portal, getting summoned from the circle, and then I need some time to get the jet lag out of the system. That's summoning sickness. Oh, a big one.
I've got more where that came from.
Ah, come on. Oops. Let's update the stream title. Let's change the category. And done. Okay, back to gameplay. Play a land, tap 2 for Shrinekeeper, tap 1 for Sanctuary Cat,
Your creatures aren't tough enough to
Yeah.
survive being blocked.
and we're too weak, so the momentum
Hold
is
them
back on
back.
our opponent's side. We want to attack and keep our blockers back for
Everybody
defense.
but me. Charge!
Always think in dynamic patterns, sequencing per se is key. So always think, what move do you want to make first? In this case, for example, we've got a favorable block with a 1-1 against a 1-2. So the cat lives, the goblin dies. And we got 2 Shrine Keepers to block the big one, so that one of our Shrine Keepers takes 2 damage, but the other only 1, and the goblin dies. This must not always be the case, because remember, with open mana, there are also so-called instant speed spells. These are like combat tricks that can either remove one of the creatures so that the math is against you, or they can also buff the creatures, that the creature is too strong and you can't kill it. In this case, the opponent does not have
Nobody
any
kills
spell,
my troops but
so
me.
our blocks are perfect and we are safe. Here is another sorcery, Goblin Grenade. He sacks one of his goblins and kills one of our creatures or deals us damage. What's interesting is this is a so-called 2-for-1. You get one effect for 2 resources. That is normally, if you pay 2 resources to do one effect, a bad trade. You don't want to do that. Normally 2-for-1s occur when you get blown out by a combat trick or a removal spell, changes your blocking formula, or for example, this happens. This is so-called 3-for-1 on the advantage side. You have Goblin Gang Leader, he's been played, and he makes 2 tokens. So it's 3 permanent spells, 3 permanents, 3 creatures, for just 1 card, which is very good because you use very little mana for very much effect. This is a so-called 2-for-1 or 3-for-1, which is favorable. The other one is disadvantageous. So you wanna use cards like Goblin Grenade only when you have this advantage engine, so that you don't really feel the price that you have to pay for this card. So, now we have Spirit Guardian, we play it, we gain 4 life.
Nice defense.
Which is also a kind of
You'd be a
advantage,
fool to attack you
which
now.
is good, but on the tier, it's more on the lower side because 1 is more than you need. You just need 1 life to win a battle. The goal is, as I've said before, reducing your enemy's life to 0. For example, Goblin Grenade was more disadvantageous because it went straight for the face instead of killing one of our creatures, which would have been at least a 2-for-1. 2 cards for 1 card. That Goblin Grenade that the NPC played was a 2-for-0. He just dealt some damage and I have negated it with one of my creatures. So, We're gonna attack with the Shrine Keeper because I don't mind trading with the Gang Leader.
Never hold back. Never back down. Never walk barefoot in a goblin warren.
Is an attack that is possible. I'm a little bit more of an aggressive player and I want to keep this board state simple. So I'm making attacks that are kind of neutral in trade when I see a good opportunity. That's called keeping your momentum.
This is going to hurt.
Ouch, that's a big one. It deals to both damage. Damage to both players, yikes. But as you can see, Spirit Guardian, we don't care. Life is back to where it started. So, because the enemy only has 3 toughness and we have 3 attack, we're gonna attack with Spirit Guardian to keep our momentum and pressure our opponent. Because we played the other Spirit Guardian, we also have a very favorable block, so the momentum is on our side. As you can see, if our opponent does not want to block and keep his permanence for a specific time where he could get advantage back or where he just needs another blocker that he does not die on the next turn, it's always good to sometimes just take the damage. As I said before, you only need 1 life left to be able to win the game, so don't sweat the small stuff. There are burn spells like Goblin Grenade that go straight to face, so keep that in mind. But if you know a little bit about your opponent's deck, it should be no problem. And now we can attack with 4 power and
It's the
adios.
pokey bits that hurt the most.
GG's. Enemy is down. Very nice, very nice. And we get 2 new cards. Cool. Then let's
You're
continue.
a quick learner. So let's try a more follow me to Ixalan. There's a mystic there who spent his life studying the nuances of combat.
So, let's continue with our deck. Let's continue with the enemies.
He might look like any other merfolk, but his knowledge is boundless. Stay patient and keep an open mind.
If it is wisdom you seek, I will teach you.
Now we here have another keyword, which is called flying. A creature with flying is very...
Fly freely. unfettered by earthly bonds.
A creature with flying is very good in most of the cases when you want to play an aggressive deck, because flying creatures can't be blocked by creatures without flying or another key ability which is called reach. Reach is normally a keyword that is on green permanents and red permanents. Can also sometimes be on white permanents. The color pie was very strict at the beginning of MTG, but now it's
Everything
been
is
definitely a little bit widened
You
out.
must understand the air, land, and sea.
Here we have another type of card, which is called enchantment. Enchantments are like creatures, but can only be in the case that they are permanent spells, they stay on the battlefield. But when you have a subtype like aura, it's like you equip it or you enchant it with the card. So if the creature which the enchantment targets, you have to have a target for the spell
give it a shot.
that it stays on the field. If the creature leaves, the enchantment also goes to the graveyard, to the discard pile. So keep that in mind. Enchantments are very enchantment auras are very prone to be blown out if the opponent has open mana and just kills your creature before you can equip the aura.
Good.
A little information
You've
at the
been paying
side.
attention.
Blue normally does not have straight up kill spells. It works a little bit around the edges. With the 5 color pie, it's normally that blue acts mostly at
Obstacles
instant
may
speed,
block
also
your path,
there in your
But do not lose
during
sight
your
of
turn.
your true goal.
Is that crab
And
wearing
that it normally
pirate
disrupts your creatures more than it kills them. Which is often value-wise a little bit more loss than you would like. So you normally pair blue with another color to balance out that detriment. Since the crab has 4 toughness, we won't get through with our freeze, so we stay back. As you can see, flying is very strong,
Ebb and flow.
because on the floor we are grounded with that big defender, and he can attack over all of our creatures because we can't block him. This is one of Blue's
Keep going.
key
He's running
removal
out of
spells.
cards.
Other spells exile, put them out of the game, the cards, or kill them and put them into the graveyard. Blue often taps down creatures permanently. Some creatures can untap through abilities, so these kind of removal spells are not that effective and valuable as you would think. They can get you out of a tight spot, but they often won't, because either you bounce your creature back to your hand, or you just untap it with an ability, or you can also disenchant. You can destroy these permanents with another spell. Now we go for Knight's Pledge. Sanctuary Cat, it has 5 attack. So here we go, he can't block he can block with his crab to save himself 5 life, but he loses his permanent, which is very nice. Now we are off
If you
to...
keep to the shallows, you'll never learn the secrets of the depths.
Wow, that sounds deep.
Yeah. This is another card advantage spell, Divination, a so-called 2 for 1, as I've explained before. You draw 2 cards, but lose only 1 card to play this effect. Then, now we are in a so-called damage race. Normally, when the board is clogged up and you can't get through with your creatures, evasion-like creatures with flying or with the effect that they can't be blocked are off to the races. If you are not in a hurry to block, if you aren't under any pressure to block, these creatures most often win you the game, because they just chip in for damage, and a few turns later the enemy is just down. There are also equalizers like Spirit Guardian, which give you back life, so that the tempo becomes a little bit more slower. And when you have to race for damage, often these kind of charm blocks occur. A charm block is when you sacrifice a creature to gain life or to gain momentum back, because you can attack back with a lot of damage after an enemy tried to deal you a little bit of damage. As you can see, the opponent has a lot of ground creatures which have much toughness, so that I can't get through with my smaller creatures, and tries to beat me with small early game creatures that have flying. Now we've got Angelic Reward. That's one of our new cards and very interesting. You can give one of your creatures flying and +3/+3, which is a lot more than Zephyr Gull. So as long as the opponent does not make more damage with his attacks than us, we will be very, very good. I'm gonna equip it to Spirit Guardian because of the reason that our cat is a very solid blocker against the Pelagosaur. So we are now in a race between the Gull and the Guardian, which we will easily win because the Guardian makes a so-called 2-turn block with 2 attacks that we do. We're gonna defeat our opponent where his Gull needs to attack 5 times, so it does not work out for him. So now the pressure is not longer on our side, but on the opponent's side. A momentum
The
break.
teacher is an ocean. The master is also an ocean.
Wait, what? That last one sounds a bit fishy.
Aye. We're gonna turn down the voice because I find the voice is annoying, sorry. Now we have Knight's Pledge. We could also equip our Sanctuary Cat, which is now strong enough to also attack on the floor and attack with both. Nice. Opponent sees that he is down and virtually concedes. Very good, very good. Nice. We get our first instant spells. Now it's gonna get a little bit more complicated. But don't fret, you have me here. And I will explain everything that's happening so that you will be able to do it too. So, at the start of a game, you see some tooltips here in the tutorial. As Sparky has explained, they are so-called instant speed spells. I guess we will be playing our cat and the opponent will destroy it or another creature with an instant spell. Now, you have 2 main phases in MTG. You get the untap step where the lands on tap. Then you have the standby phase where you can you have the untap step with the lands. Then you have the main step where you can play creatures. Then you have a combat step where you can attack. And if you took your combat step, you also have a so-called main step 2 where you can also still play creatures and other spells as long as you have enough mana. So we're gonna attack with the cat. And because of the 2 open mana, our opponent will play an instant spell and destroy our cat. Bye-bye. So in the second main phase, we're gonna play with the Shrine Keeper. Yeah, there it is. You have the upkeep in the doorstep, you have the main step 1, you have the main step 2, and you have the end phase. Normally it's a very wise decision to play your lands first out if you have some spells to play. If not, you can always keep your opponent guessing what you have drawn if you just keep attacking. There's a flash creature. Flash is another keyword. It allows your opponent to cast a spell at any time, so also during your turn. It's like an instant spell. We call it instant speed then. And there's the trade. So in the second main phase, we play our Shrine Keeper. Something that is very fishy is we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards, and our opponent has 4, 9, 11 cards. He normally should only have 1 more card because he was on the draw. So when you start the game, you don't get to draw a card. Your opponent does. In his first turn. That is a so-called tempo advantage. So let's equip Shrine Keeper and attack. You see. Okay. Yeah. That's a so-called combo. Opponent does not want to take the 4 damage, blocks with the Pilferer, and then plays Altar Sweep to offset the death of his Reaper as an advantage to draw 2 cards. So he 2 for 2s himself But he also doesn't have a disadvantage because he prevented me from attacking. So here we have tactical advantage. Target blocking or blocked creature gets +2/+2. We won't be attacking because Rakshasa cannot block. And normally if our opponent is not dead when we attack, he also won't block because he does not have to. We will be keeping the land in hand because you want to keep your opponent always guessing. If you don't need it to play a spell, just keep the land back in reserve. It might help you out later. Black also has so-called discard spells. So when a creature comes into play and says, your opponent discards a card, you always want to have a land back in the hand so that you don't have to discard a spell or a permanent. So we will be passing our turn and see what the opponent does. As you can see, if we let this attack through, we're gonna die. So we will have to block. And then we've got, during the combat step, a so-called declare attackers, declare blockers, and a damage step. And the damage step is where it gets interesting, because in this little intersection, before damage is calculated, we can play another spell to prevent other creatures from dealing damage, or to buff our creatures so that they can win a battle. So now we buff our Shrine Keeper and try to kill the Rakshasa. Nice. Playing these kind of combat tricks while our opponent has a lot of mana open is normally not such a good idea, because he could play a removal spell and then we get the blowout. Hello Raevenor. Yeah, this is the tutorial area of Arena. I'm just doing a little let's play and tutorial session for starters. Making a YouTube video right now. Yeah, I've downloaded MTGA again and thought it would be nice to see how new gamers learn how to play Magic in 2025. So far so good. I've downloaded the client first when it came out in 2016, 2017. And I think the tutorial has gone a long way. It's way cleaner than before. Oops. Thanks for liking the commentary. I hope it helps a lot to learn a little bit more. I think you're a seasoned veteran, if you know what standard and historic is. So, let's play tactical advantage to keep our Shrine Keeper alive. And make a 2-for-1. Nice. Very good, very good. Play a land each turn. Now the tutorial forces us to play the land. Oh, since 7th edition, nice. Very cool. Yeah, I also started with, I think around 7th edition and Legion. Somewhere during that time. I think it was in 23, 24, something like that. By the way, Raevenor, have you played already a little bit of Edge of Eternities? How do you like the set? Oh, 7th edition is from 21. Good to know. Yeah, I still remember the white bordered cards, so 7th edition, 8th edition, somewhere around that time. It's a little bit hazy because I returned to Magic in 2015, 2016. during my years as a college student. Oh, Nicole Bolas. Let's hit the end boss. I've only touched the new set a little bit, but I like what it brings to the table as new mechanics. A good way to avoid power creep directly. Yeah, I always find it very interesting how Wizards handles their rotation. I think the 3-year rotation is a little bit much, but Foundations was a very fun set to introduce very important and fun combo cards, but also core cards that have been, I think, definitely a very good choice for evergreen cards in formats. Like Lenovo Elves, for example. 1 mana dogs are something that gives a little bit of spice. Yeah, power creep is always a little bit of a problem. If you look at Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, there you have the perfect example of ultimate power creep. Yu-Gi-Oh is just a combo fest these days. So I think Magic will always be a little bit more grounded and a little bit more flavor intense. What I definitely found interesting during the early days of Arena was you could see in the older sets like Color Dash, or also Ixalan. I didn't like Ixalan that much. That you always had a little bit of impactful cards and not impactful cards. Standard was always a little bit more of a rotating format. So if you wanted to play new cards, but also did not want to have the power level so ultra obnoxious high, Standard was always the way to go. In paper it was a little bit expensive, but with the release of Arena, now you can play for free as much as you like. And I think that's a very good choice. I think I've been away from paper play for at least Wave 2025. I think my last paper set was... What have I played? Good question. I think it was around Modern Masters. I think it was Ultimate Masters. It was. It has been my last paper set that I've played. It was around the Hogak time. Oh yeah. If anyone made a new lightning bolt with 4 damage, that would be very, very, very bad. I think they did also do a very, very bold one with the Bolt Wave. So that Burn has in Modern now 8 burn spells from 1 mana that deal 3 damage. Okay, back to the gameplay. Miasmic Mummy, one of the black spells that I have had the pleasure of explaining before. Black likes to discard. Your hand is very precious, and these permanents that come into play and force you to discard one of your precious cards are always very, very nasty. So that's one of the reasons why it's always good to keep excessive lands in your hand, so that if you have to discard, it does not hurt that much. Yep. I haven't played Modern in a while, but what I've heard so far, it had some really, really rough times with the new Horizon sets. I think I dropped the paper play when they released the first Modern Horizons. I think a friend invited me to Vienna to play one of the regionals. I've won that regional, which was very, very fun. But it was also a limited regional, so it's definitely one of my more favorite formats. And yeah, Ragavan what Vagaman did to the format of Ren and 6, that was obnoxious. That was really, really heavy. So now we have the choice to attack with our 3-2 into this 2-2. I personally don't like trades where my greater power creatures trade for lower power creatures, so I will stay back and see what the opponent does. Because we have a lot of life, we don't really have to attack. We can see how the game plays out. Yeah, definitely Raevenor. Raevenor says that he plays red deck wins, the so-called mono red deck, which just blows through your opponent's life. And if he doesn't have answer, he dies really fast. Mono red is one of those decks you don't really want to take a so-called mulligan, so you switch out your starting hand because you will have to discard a card for each mulligan that you take. So you could possibly reduce your hand size to 0, which is definitely not optimal, and you often also will see that discarding 1 or 2 hands in your starting hand, if you don't have enough lands, can also get very disadvantageous. We will be taking the damage. Volcanic Dragon is a big one. As you can see, the graveyard is not always permanent. You can also revive creatures from the graveyard and put them back onto the battlefield, which could be something to think about for your decision making. Reanimation effects are normally reserved for black, so you don't have to worry too much about it. So now we're playing Inspiring Commander, which is a very, very good card, because if lower power creatures enter our battlefield, we're gonna get a lot of card draw. And card advantage is king in Magic. As you can see, opponent just casually drops Overflowing Insight and gets a full hand back. Yikes. Okay, now we're behind a lot. Let's see how good our Inspiring Commander gets. Draws us 1. Draws us 2. Gives us a removal spell for the Volcanic Dragon, which is superb. And we're gonna chip in for 1 damage. Nice. Yikes. That Chaos Maw is a very big creature. Let's hope that we get a spell which gets us back into the game. Confront the Assault is a good start. We'll be passing the turn, no attacks. That one is way too big. Damn, it's so much flyers. So many flyers. We'll be playing Confront the Assault. Gonna draw 3 cards, which is very nice. Gain 3 life, which is also very, very good. Yes. Oh, awesome. Very nice. And now, what shall we do? I guess we're gonna make a 3x block and trade 2 of our tokens with a pump spell to get the dragon off the field, and we let the Chaos Maw through. 3 blocks. Now the opponent gets to decide which creature to deal which kind of damage, which amount of damage. And we're gonna see how much our Inspiring Commander carries us. Okay, nice. Gonna play a land. Then guess we're gonna attack for 2 damage. Play Sarah Angel. And pass the turn. Sarah Angel got another keyword which is very good for offense and for defense. It's called Vigilance. Vigilance does not cause your creature to tap, so that you can keep your momentum, even if you're on the defense. It's one of the most iconic creatures in early MTG. So that attack is a little bit too big for my taste. We are going to block and sacrifice our cat. Then we've got Angelic Reward, which is very good in combination with Serra Angel, because now it's big enough to block all of the opponent's creatures, and it can still get in for a lot of damage. We're also at 8 power with 2 possible pump spells, so... Oops. Yeah. I thought we could win the game, but it only targets blocking or block creatures, so it does not work that way. Now we're gonna block the Chaos Maw. Go down to 2. And should win on the backswing. For good measure, playing Spirit Guardian, gain 4. And attack for gain. Very nice, very nice. Ah, victory, victory. Very, very good. Ah, what did we get? What did we get? Ah, the beginner decks. Very nice, very nice. New decks unlocked. I like it, I like it. As you can see, it gets a little bit overwhelming pretty fast, but don't worry, Arena got your back. As you can see, there's a so-called standard format. You can play Magic in very many different flavors. 2 of the most beloved formats in the card game are so-called limited, where you crack booster packs and play with the cards that are handed to you. And also Commander, or as it is called in Magic the Gathering Arena, Brawl. I am personally a very, very, very ambitious Brawl player. In my other account, which is called Perilous Pit, yeah, I've got at least 50 different Brawl decks with a lot of rares and mythics and strong combo commanders, and also funky little ramp commanders. So you can design each deck however you want. It's very, very nice. So the good thing with banned cards on Arena simply does not allow you to build a deck with them. So you don't have to worry that you're building an illegal deck. In paper Magic, it's a little bit different. I've been thrown out of 1 or 2 tournaments at the beginning because they said, your deck is not legal. Sorry, we can't let you play. Which was very devastating because in the early games where I played, we did not have the internet as it is now. So if you did not know how to ask people the right questions, you would never know that there is a banned and restricted list in the card game. We also got some flavor. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. The new set is called Edge of Eternities. It's available now. I think it's out for a few days by now, maybe a week. And if we get enough gold, which is the main currency in Magic the Gathering Arena, we will be definitely playing also a little bit of limited, because it's the best way to get a lot of good cards early on. Especially when you play with other people online. I will show it to you when it's the right time. And we'll definitely make a little limited series for YouTube, so that you can enjoy a little bit of advanced pick orders and how you should think as a drafter in Magic. So, what's very important for all free-to-play players is the daily reward system and the weekly reward system. If you don't have a lot of time, what I personally recommend, definitely try to get at least 5 to 10 wins each day, because the daily rewards are so impactful for your overall gold economy. You also get an extra daily reward each new day, which you can recycle for a more valuable reward also each and every day. So if you don't have time to play, don't fret. Magic throws gold at you every day. You just have to fulfill your conditions and you will be rewarded. Very nice, very nice. Let's have a look at the store. What's very interesting in Arena is... okay. That it lags a little bit. You can pay with real money, or you can also pay in gems or gold. So if you want to upgrade your fanciness a little bit and get more styles, you can always cash in your in-game currency for a little bit of bling. What's also very interesting to look at are special time offers. As you can see, sometimes these deals reduce the cost that cards and styles would normally cost. You can also go right here through the slider, have a look. You can buy in-game currency with real-time money. I personally say, if you want to invest money into Magic, definitely consider buying the paper products. It has many different benefits over a digital product. If you buy, for example, let's say 40,000 gems in Arena, those 40,000 gems get you, if you calculate it out, 40,000 in limited, you have to invest 1,500 for a good draft. That gets you 26 drafts. If you're a good player, you can go plus and win more gems back than you invest. If you're a mediocre player, that economy does not work. So you often burn your money for digital value that stays nice on an account, but it does not give you any potential cash out option. So if you want to invest, it's definitely better to go to places like Scryfall or TCG Player, Card Market. Card Market, for example, is one of the best European sites to buy trading cards. And you can buy the cards on the site for real money and get a real paper card, which is awesome because Magic is also a very, very nice card game and a very nice collectible to invest, but also just to keep a physical collection so that you get a little bit more of haptic feedback and can enjoy your cards more. Digital is nice, but sometimes just only paper can really soothe your itch. And it's very nice to play with friends in person. So let's look back. What's very interesting with the gold rewards is you can cycle them once each day. I personally like to keep one of the gold rewards in reserve for when every of my rewards is at 750 gold, because that's the maximum. As you can see, I swap it and now it's upgraded from 500 to 750. I still haven't figured out how exactly it works on Arena, but I definitely think it's worth a try to keep your 500s back and to upgrade them every so often to 750. That also maximizes your gain. And in turn, lets you buy more cards with in-game currency. So, what I personally like to max out my daily rewards is to play so-called starter deck duels, especially at the beginning where you don't have much of a collection. That's one of the easiest ways and one of the most fun ways to grind out your daily rewards. What's also very interesting, they added this, I think 2 or 3 months ago, are the so-called achievements. So if you want to bling out your interface for free, Arena got you. Okay, there are also a lot of announcements. Core masteries, achievements ready to claim. You can get on ready to claim. There's the claim reward. We rolled 500 gold daily into 750. And as you can see, we have this indicator where we can see when we get our next rewards. All for the guilds is a nice card sleeve. So you can put your cards into sleeves. Very nice. Initiate title shows how invested you are. Very good. And for those of you who like to emote, Arena got you too. I always hide the emotes because they stress me out a little bit too much, but it's always funny to see an opponent blow with the Sparky and say, yeah, that was a nice play. So, let's have a look at the announcement. Maybe we get some rewards. What's very cool, they've added this, I think, some years ago. When there is a new set coming out, we also get the basic lands, which is very nice, and free packs of cards. And the cool thing is, as long as the new set is out, you can always claim these rewards, which is very nice. So... Sure, Raevenor. Raevenor asks if you can send me the basic reg deck list for standard to talk over with people. If you want to, I don't know what is the best way. How do you save your deck lists? That would be very interesting. Okay, what we can do is we make this one big. Whoops. Can I? Whoops. I'm still fumbling a little bit around with my streaming interface. What we can do is, let's have a look at Raevenor's deck. His red deck wins is 17 mountains, 4 shocks which deal 2 damage, 4 burst lightning which deal 3 damage if I remember correctly. Or let's have a look. Whoops. Let's go to MTG Goldfish, which is my personal favorite site to look for cards. mtggoldfish.com. Then you can go to cards, give Burst of Lightning, for example, into the search bar. Whoops. No, Burst Lightning. Check. Let's have a look. Yeah, Burst Lightning deals 2 damage with a possible kicker, so you can invest more mana to deal extra damage, which is very, very nice. 2 lightning strikes. What have we here? Oops. 4 lightning strikes. Very good, very good. Key to Lava Runner. Nice. 3 Witch Stalker Frenzy. Very good. 4 Slickshot Show-Offs, which is very nice. That is one of the menace cards in Standard at the time. Especially in the Izzet Cutter deck, it was very strong. Whoops, Slickshot. Undefeated Slickshot, Lockpicker, Show-Off, there it is. As you can see, it has flying and haste and is a prowess creature. No prowess creature, but it gets +2/+0 instead of +1/+1. So it gets very strong very fast. Very, very nice. Then 4 Emberheart Challengers, which is also a very good card because it gets buffed when it is targeted. Whoops. There we have it. That one has prowess, as you can see. +1/+1 for every spell played. Non-creature spell. Very, very good. And when it's targeted, it gives you card advantage, so you can chain even more spells. Then we have 4 Hired Claw, 4 Rockface Village. That's an interesting choice. Target Lizard, Mouse, Otter, Raccoon gets +1/+0 and haste, which is a good enabler for the Emberheart Challenger because it gets targeted. 4 Screaming Nemesis. I see you splurged out on that one. That one is so strong. I think that is one of the design mistakes that Wizards made this year. Where have it? Nemesis. I think Arena is a little bit Screaming Nemesis. Oh, what we also could do is look it up in the Arena. If you go here to home, go to decks, go to my decks plus, you can also search up here. You got here the filters. Go for not collected. and then type in the cards. For example, we have here, whoops, Screaming Nemesis. Let's type in Screaming Nemesis. And there we have it. That is a ultra pushed card. 3 mana 3/3 with haste is very good for an aggressive card. And whenever it is dealt damage, not non-combat damage or creature damage, any type of damage, it deals that much damage to any other target, not player, targets. You can kill creatures with it, you can deal with planeswalkers, you can deal damage to opponents, which is nuts, and it gets even better. If a player is dealt damage this way, they can't gain life for the rest of the game. That's unheard of. Screaming Nemesis. The first card in Magic for over 25 years that not only prohibits your opponent from gaining life for a turn, no, for the rest of the whole game. Which is awesome in Arena, which keeps tracks of all of those effects that happened. But it's horrible if you're in tournament play and you forgot that Screaming Nemesis prohibits you from life gain and you just die on the spot or get a DQ because you forgot that the Nemesis prohibited you from gaining life or made you misplay. So all this for the rest of the game triggered effects, yikes. I hope they don't do that again. I think that is way too strong. So, but very, very nice. Raevenor, very, very nice. Yeah. I personally find Burst Lightning is a very good addition. It's a shock with upside, so definitely nice. Nemesis is way too strong. Especially the fun part about Nemesis is you can hit your own creature with your spell. It does not have to be damage from your opponent. So you can, for example, if your opponent wants to gain 15 life or so, just play a shock or a Burst Lightning onto your Nemesis, ping your opponent for the 2 damage that it would have done either way, and also prevent them from gaining life. It's nuts. It's a very advanced strategy, but it's nuts for burn. So I think in modern burn it should definitely also be a 4-off. It's way too strong. Ay. Right. There's also the import possibility. So you can go into the collection slider down here, go onto this box with the arrow up, go onto import. Deck import failed with following message. Import string contains an invalid line. Okay. What I normally do is when you have it saved on a site like Goldfish, for example, you can go to the router here with decks, popular decks in metagame, for example. Then you have here mono red aggro, like the deck of Raevenor. And you can go to export to Arena. When you click here, you've got this sort of deck list. You can copy it. Then it gets into the copy register of your computer. And when you then go into import, successfully imported from clipboard. Go into my decks, and there it is. And now we have it in all its glory. Whoops. Yeah, there it is. Very nice. That's not the exact list of Raevenor, but that's how I normally import my pre-built decks into Arena. And if I want to adjust a little bit, you can always pull some cards out, pull some cards in. You can do them to the right or on the mana curve. It's very easy drag and drop. I love it very, very much. Yeah. But very, very cool deck. And especially if you want to grind out your rewards, definitely one of the best options, especially when the format allows it. Sometimes the format is very life gain heavy. I think Saffron Olive from MTG Goldfish said in one of his YouTube shorts that the most crafted card on MTG Arena, let's have a look, maybe I find it. Most crafted card on MTGA Arena. Whoops. I think it was a post from Blake Rasmussen, the The crew. Nope, not that one. Yeah, he's a communications guy at Wizards of the Coast. He always likes to talk about numbers. And where do we have it? A Chinese bridesmaid. Oh, I can show it to you. I'm stupid. Where it is? Where it is? Yeah, a Chinese bridesmaid. That's the most crafted card on all of MTG Arena. That shows you how much life gain is loved because of mono red. That's just bonkers. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, and mono red is definitely on the budget side one of the best decks to invest for easy mythic. What's very important also to consider is if you go here to the profile pick page, you get a lot of customization. You can pick different avatars, which is very nice. You can buy a lot of avatars. You can also, go here onto the slider, which is, I think, for free-to-play players the most important slider ever. It's the so-called Season Pass or Season Mastery. You get always a free Season Mastery, and if you want to invest at least 3,400 in gems, you can also get a lot of awesome tokens, a little bit more gold, a little bit more gems, and card sleeves, for example, or packs. What I personally like to collect are these, what are they called? Companions. There we have it. Like the Guideline Emissary. That one is new at the moment. And if you are still new and did not have to play the, I think, over 100 sets before the newest set, don't worry. Normally in the shop they offer special deals for all the old companions too. So you won't lose anything if you don't have the time to get them. Or if you don't want to spend the money right now. Some of those are behind the paywall, you have to buy them, but most of them are still available in in-game currency. Especially the ones from the Season Pass, to keep it fair. I will be updating a lot more, keep you up to date how it goes. This is MTG from scratch. Let's play free-to-play MTG. This is starter deck Duels, so if you want to join this kind of play, there are the events. And then you can go here under the Rat All, starter deck Duel. If you've played one before, it's right at the top. Otherwise, you will have to search it. I found it on the right section. But it's always there. It's free to play. If you're starting right away and you don't have anything else you want to play in standard because you don't have a big enough card pool, it's a perfect choice, as you have seen. We already have 2,950 gold just from playing the starter duels and getting a little bit of rewards. You get also very nice card packs. And the first goal of our little experiment here will be to unlock the season pass for Edge of Eternities. Which means next time we might be able to start our first draft. So, thank you all very much for watching. I enjoyed it very much to give you a little bit of insight in the brain of a pro player of MTG. And also to give you a little taste of how it feels to start Magic in the year of 2025. I hope you have a lot of fun with the new set. Edge of Eternities looks kind of spacey and very overpowered. And if you don't have any motivation to play Constructed or Limited, you can always play Brawl, which is definitely an option. And I think we will be building our next Brawl deck in the next session. So look forward to it. We don't have that many wildcards, but the first budget build is definitely always fun. So thank you for watching. I will leave you all with a little announcement from my alter ego, and we will see ourselves in the next one. Until then, be good, rehydrate, get a little bit out, take a fresh breath of air, and thank you very much for watching. Hi there. Thank you very much for watching the video. And if you want to see even more, we've got the Limited Madness series up here. The Budget Brawl series is here. And if you want to join our Discord server and join our Order of Yore, the finest community out there in the land, definitely look downwards in the description box. We've got all our social media links there, and you can definitely find the finest of content also on our Discord. And if for nothing else, I will see you all in the next video. Be good, be brave, and bye-bye.